Knowledge is the driving force that puts creative passion to work. Self-motivation drives success. Fear is not the best driving force, passion is. Hang on. I know that neither you nor I am in the mood for a weekend sermon. And my speech today is not going to be on the driving forces of knowledge, self-motivation, or passion. Instead, my speech today is about my driving force, the force that drives me, my driver or chauffeur. My first driver, Purnu. I remember Purnu from the time I remember anything at all. He was always in and around the house. Whenever any device went wrong in the house, Purnu would be summoned and he would mend whatever electrical, mechanical, or plumbing device it was. We used to stay in the village and my house was quite far from my school. Purnu was the one responsible for ferrying us 5 children of the household to and from school, which also meant that I spent a lot of time in his company. Since he was a chatterbox, we ended up interacting with him quite a lot as well. He used to often tell us stories about the village and how he had once encountered goons which had left his right hand permanently deformed. Every day after school, Purnu would shove some fruit or the other into my hands as I boarded the car. In the winter months, it was usually bogri or berries, bogri as we call them in Assamese. He used to put the bogris in my hand and close my fingers around it secretly, making me feel that I was his favorite. However, since I had not done anything special to earn his favor, I'm sure that he meted out the same treatment to every other child in the car, and everyone secretly must have felt the same. Do you remember the secret cough between Prem and Nisha in the movie Hum Aapke Hai Kaun? Uhu, uhu. Well, that movie was released in the year 1994, but Purnu had been using this uhu, uhu to signal his arrival ever since the 1980s. Whenever we were at a friend's house or tuition, he would not ring the doorbell. He would just stand near the door and say his uhu, uhu, and we would know that Purnu and his car are waiting to take us back home. His cough became so famous that all my friends, even now, know that that was his typical cough. Purnu was the driving instructor, not only to me, but 14 of my cousins. However, growing up with Purnu around had its own share of problems. Whenever the car used to make a noise, he used to tell my father that there is something wrong with the socket jar. As I grew up, I kept thinking that there is a component in the car called socket jabber, only to realize later on in life that this socket jabber is actually a shock absorber. When I got married, I had to leave the comfort of the back seat of Purnu's car to land in the car of another gentleman called Kulen Thakuria. Now, if there is anyone in this whole world who needs Toastmasters the most, it is Kulen. Just like Purnu was famous for his uhu, Kulen is famous for his communication skills or the total lack of it. He is so famous that my friends call me up to ask me about the latest Kulen episodes. For example, one day I left home. I was lost in my thoughts. I sat in the car and I forgot to tell him where he needed to drive. He kept driving. I kept thinking. Till we reached the outskirts of Guwahati, when I suddenly realized that I had to go into the opposite direction. I asked him, "Where are you taking me?" And he said, "You never told me where to go," so I kept driving. Thankfully, I was roused from my reverie. Else, he would have driven me that day to Nogao or probably beyond till the car would run out of fuel in the middle of the forest. But I can trust Kulen more than I can trust Google Maps to guide me about the narrowest lanes of Guwahati. Also, Kulen is a better driving instructor than Purnu. If you were learning to drive with him and you were to hit on a lamppost, he would do nothing. you would just keep sitting. In a few minutes of the drive, you would yourself realize that you are on your own and hence be more careful while driving. Hence learn faster. After being my driver for 10 years, the Ola Uber bug bit him and he left me to drive his own car. Just a call away and comes off. Then came Sanjeet. He was a typical Gen Z. He's all of 24, but he changes his smartphones faster than the timer can change his cards. He is more often found in his village in Bihar than in my car. So there are no too many stories about him. Often in our life, we get so engrossed pursuing our driving forces of knowledge, wisdom, passion, self-motivation that we forget that our life has been shaped by so many people around us. I'm really thankful for the presence of these three gentlemen in my life, because of whom I often did not have to bother about finding the parking lot or navigating on the GPS. I hope that my Sanjeev continues to be with us for many more years, just like Purnu and Sanjeev. And in my 5th path of pathways, I plan to dedicate a speech to him. Till then, thank you.
Thank you